Alrighty, welcome everybody to a thriving summer. Well, what we hope for you is a thriving, well summer from Heroes Unleashed. Today we get to talk to the founders of Heroes Unleashed, co-founders Nicole Devine and Matt Devine, and we've got them both on the same screen, which is a very big deal for me. I get to work with both these guys, and it's rare to see them both on a panel at the same time. So, give it up for Nicole. We're going to start off with a few questions for you. Hi, Nicole.
Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am very well too. Perfect. I am very well. And on that note, Nicole Devine is a certified nutritionist, among many, 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 many other things and hats that she wears. She's also a mom. She's the partner of Matt Devine. And so she's a business partner, she's a business lady. We have a lot going on. And that's why it's really exciting to talk to her about wellness. So, Nicole, wellness can be a little bit of a buzzy word thrown around that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I'd really love to hear what wellness means to you. How would you define wellness?
You're right. Wellness is a big word that encompasses so much stuff. And it took me actually a long time to get a really good, solid understanding of what wellness meant to me because it means something different for everybody. But first and foremost, in order to work through a journey of sustainable wellness, you need to look after yourself first. And that was my big challenge because you give as moms and as women, whether you're working inside or outside the home, you fill everybody else's cup and you give and you deplete your own. So you need to look after self and fill your own cup before you can help or support anybody else. And you do that by moving your body daily. And that can be as simple as a walk or a big, huge marathon or anything in between. And fueling your body and your soul, but doing it mindfully. We have a tendency to eat mindlessly, and you walk into the pantry, and you can talk to Matt about that and just mindly grab a handful of nuts or candies or whatever that may be. We need to be more mindful of that. And the other piece that I think is really important that took me a while to get to, and probably that this may resonate with a lot of other people, is finding activities and or causes that you're actually really passionate about, that bring you joy. And it doesn't mean you need to go headlong every day into that stuff, but it needs to be part of that piece that brings you joy. All of those things together, for me, mean wellness.
Oh, beautifully put. Thank you. And I'm going to circle back to you in a minute around filling cups because
Okay.
that's going to dip into our habit conversation, which I think is probably key to that. Over to the Matt Devine. We've seen a little bit more of Matt on camera, and but today we're going to talk about something a little bit different with him. So, at Heroes Unleashed, we're talking about thriving summer. Through wellness, I think some of those things overlap. Matt, you may have to clarify for everybody what is thriving.
I think thriving incorporates components of wellness. But when I talk to people, whether they be leaders or mums or dads or teammates, when I think of thriving, I think of the dimensions of your life, your profession, your relationships, your mental health, your physical health, your purpose. And for me, it's having a passing grade in all of those dimensions. You can be really great at your job, but be struggling physically. You could have tremendous fitness, but maybe have some mental health issues. You can be so good in one or two or three of those dimensions, but the goal here is to get everybody above that thriving line in all of those dimensions so they can have an incredible life. And when we work with people at Heroes Unleashed, we start with the assessment. What grade would you give yourself? And in some cases, people don't even realize. They're just going through the motions. They get up every day and They think they're living the way life is meant to be lived. But when they actually sit down to challenge those dimensions and how they're doing, they may be surprised to find out, you know what, I'm not thriving, I'm surviving. And our goal is to elevate people in all those different dimensions.
Wicked. Okay. Thank you guys. So that's a perfect segue into the big question everybody's probably asking is that all sounds wonderful. How the heck do I actually get there? And so maybe before you guys give everybody some tips on how to get there or how you've gotten there, let's start with where you began. I think it's sort of like it can sound a little bit daunting to people. I mean, you guys are fit. I know you live very well lives now. Have you always? Nicole, would you mind starting with the answer to that question?
Absolutely. Have we always? That would be a resounding absolutely not. Uh, Now, at the time, when you're in the midst of it in your 20s and maybe into your early part of your 30s or whenever that light goes for you, you kind of think you're doing okay. Uh, we actually were not. I cooked well and I had good food, but it certainly was not the best in terms of all of the nutritional value stuff that we'll talk to later. But it also included, partying on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Friday and everybody hanging out at our place and all of the beer, the wine, the whatever, and the deep fried food and the cigarettes and the not enough sleep, and just enjoying life and not being mindful about all of that stuff. And I will tell you that it began to shift for me. There was two separate instances. The first one was, I believe it was January 1st, 1998, when my then 14-year-old daughter loudly proclaimed to Matt and I that she was no longer going to consume meat products. And so at 14 years old, she became a lacto-ovo pescatarian, meaning she eats fish and dairy products and eggs. I knew enough then that she wasn't going to get the protein she needed if I didn't do the research. And so I started that process. Not as easy as it is today because information on the internet wasn't as readily available. And so I made some changes to that, but it still wasn't where we are today. And that about a year or so later, when Matt got his uh, uh, diagnosis of high blood pressure and the really real conversation from his doctor that things had to change, that I began to make changes in how we ate and how I prepared food and what was in the house. And it was a trial and error and a missteps. I'll never call them failures because anytime you misstep and you make changes, it's an opportunity to learn and make things a little bit better. And we kind of went back and forth on a lot of those things over time. And where we are today in 2025, the past 3 to 5 years have been really fine tuning what we understand about food and preparing it and all of those macronutrients. So the proteins, the carbs, and the fats, plus the plethora of micronutrients that we need to stay well, are pretty dialed in today. But it's a process, and we're not perfect. And nor should you be perfect because perfect is an unattainable bar.
Okay, I'm gonna have more questions for you about that, I think. And you also might be paving the way for a very cool extra conversation after this, if you're open to
I got
it.
all sorts of stuff.
Okay, good. She's got data, guys. Okay, and over to Matt. Tell us what this sort of journey has been like on your end.
Well, my journey, unfortunately, seems to be a bit more rough than Nicole's. I think we both shared the partying aspect, the drinking and the smoking. But where it all started for me was I was living life as I thought I should be, and I was having a lot of fun. I was on my own for the first time in Grand Prairie. I was making money, and I just got into this groove. I was drinking, I was smoking, I was partying. Fast foods 4 or 5 times a week. This was before I met Nicole. Friday nights to the bar, Saturdays to the bar. Fast forward, I get the first wake up call. The doctor uh, sits me down and said, "You have a 95% chance of having a major medical event, heart attack, stroke within 5 years." I think I was around 35 years old. Wake up call number one, started getting fit. And I would say that's when Nicole really started to do more research on, you know, the nutritional side of this whole equation. Wake up call number two, as I was going through life, getting fitter, I had a mental kind of period where I would say the world became a bit more gray. Call it depression, call it mental health issues, call it a midlife transition. We talked about that a week ago. I just woke up and I was losing on the daily my motivation to get up and get to work. So there was these two major events separated about 5 years that led me to a point, you know, down the road where I reacted and said, I need to do something. And it was a cry of desperation. And that's where the first event became real, the 300-kilometer run. Before that, I was blowing up my career. I was breaking relationships. I was trying every trick in the book, buying the cars, buying the motorcycles, signing up for events. So even though that first ride seemed well thought out, like it was just a natural thing that I was doing to serve the charity, to challenge myself, that and the other two events that followed were cries of desperation because there was nothing in my playbook that was working for me anymore. I was in a true midlife crisis. I was probably suffering from mental health issues. I had achieved so much success, but everything just lost the shine. And I feel personally that those journeys that, you know, combined were tens of thousands of kilometers, many of which I was completely by myself, were me searching for an answer.
Step one, advice. What do you tell people that know they need to change their habits, or how do they change their habits?
Oh my goodness, changing habits is tough. We don't think, in a lot of cases, we're not mindful. We don't think that we actually have an issue that we need to change until more often than not something hits us externally or internally. I think that when we need to change, there's a need to change our habits, whether they be our fitness habits, our nutrition habits, our um, self-talk habits. All of those things come into play, and I don't know if um, if we recognize those things as early as we should. So when we do, there is no time to waste, and we want people to step up and do the research for what they need. And that research could be reaching out to a certified nutrition coach. It could be reaching out to a life coach or a fitness trainer or anything that helps you start the process. And it's not about perfection today because it's a journey. I don't like anything that has a definitive start date with a goal to be completed or to achieve by date X, because that sets us up for failure. Because what happens after date X, and I think Matt talks about that regularly. So it's about taking baby steps and reaching out. I was not I didn't have all of this. I had to reach out. I talked to people. I went to libraries. I spent a lot of time at Chapters and Indigo looking for books and validating stuff and asking questions. And that's how we learn. I don't want anybody to ever feel like, oh, I can't ask that because it sounds stupid or it sounds dumb. Um, Always remember, if you're thinking it, someone else is too. And the more we share and engage one another and hold each other up, that's where the magic happens. So it's to me, it's reach out. Start today, reach out. One
I
step.
I love that. Nicole, thank you. And what an amazing sort of segue, because I was hoping that you would talk about that. No one starts with all of the answers. And I think it's just such good advice because if you're not in your field or your space, you don't know. So ask, ask. You're not on an island. Everyone needs to ask each other. And that's a cool part of Heroes Unleashed and why I'm so grateful to be on the team is it's really is community focused. And another word that is sort of thrown around a lot, I think, is community, but we don't, no one person has it all. Thank you. And I think that might be a really cool place to ask Mr. Matt, what, I mean, advice for people, like sort of a bite-sized step to thriving, to getting there. How, I mean, if you were to talk to your ground zero self, and maybe give him different advice or new advice, where do you start? How do you get to here?
Yeah, I wish I would have known myself. I wish I would have known my 300-pound self back in the day. Um, we could get real technical here, talk about the physical, the mental, even the spiritual side of things. But what I'm going to say is this: challenge the norm. If you feel you're waking up every day and you're not thriving, you're not. And surviving isn't an option. Don't waste another precious day just accepting that. The second thing I would say is being fit and being healthy isn't being a marathon runner or running across Canada or riding across Canada. Being fit and healthy is the price of admission. Your body is your vehicle to get you to the vision, the life you want to live, to be the person you want to be. Take care of it. You can't run, ride, play with your kids if you're not physically fit. It's a precious resource, so take care of it. And the third thing I would say is that you need to recruit the mind. Your mind is doing everything in its power to keep you safe. And sometimes it's holding you back from pursuing that chapter of change. Recruit the mind. Learn how to remove your limiting behaviors. Once you do, you've now got the biggest muscle available to you with massive amounts of processing power, solving problems, motivating you forward. Figure out your vision, the reality you want to live, and get after it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matt. That was brilliant. I want to ask you another question about that after this. And I think there's a lot of myths around compromise, especially when it comes to diet. Fast food a few times a week does not sound like the worst thing in the world to me right now. So how do you go? I mean, you're also a partner to Matt. You have kids. You talked about that. So tell us how do you make that? How do you make that fun? How do you make people still eat good food?
I love good food, so I would not subject Matt or myself or anybody who comes to my table to something that's not fun. Um, it's really easy for anybody to make that excuse to fall off your balanced life, whether that be fitness, nutrition, all of that. In order to stay committed to that piece, um, I talk about, if you look at my social media, I talk about that 80-20 rule. And so if you are following all of the things you've committed to, whether it be fitness or your altruistic activities or nutrition and sleep, etc., 80% of the time, you're good to treat yourself. Get the word cheat out of your mouth. And that is, it's a dirty word. I know it's more letters, but it's like the 4-letter word. It's not a cheat. You have worked hard, you work well, you keep mindful, and that 20%, you can go and treat yourself to the burger, the pizza, the ice cream, the pulled pork poutine, whatever it is that gives you that joy and that comfort. You do that. And to your point, yeah, quote unquote dieting. I don't like dieting either. It's called an eating plan, and it needs to be fun. People get resistant when it comes to what they're fueling with because they think that diet is steamed fish or steamed chicken, and plain brown rice and broccoli. If you like that, have at her. However, there are so many other flavorful things you can add to all of that that keep you within the required macros that you need and all those micronutrients. And it's not that it's just palatable, it is exciting. It's got all the flavors that you like. And Matt will tell you that that's how we eat. I don't like boring food. And if you think that that's the only option, reach out to me. I will help.
Matt, was it as easy to shift into this food eating plan as Nicole makes it sound, or how is that for you? To the gentlemen or the ladies out there that are struggling with weight or eating and all this stuff, Matt has been there. And was it that easy, sir?
No, it wasn't easy. Because you know what? Food for us went with the drink. It went with the partying. It was like, we were like my big fat Greek wedding. We were in our backyard and it was like every Friday night. And what made it worse was at 2 a.m., pizza 73, the pizzas would come, the hot wings. We were living life large. And for us, food was fun. Drink was fun. We weren't doing this stuff because we were depressed and sitting in our basement. We were having fun living large. And you know, when you're young, you have the credit in the bank to do it and pay off the debt. But you're depleting the account. And one day the doctor's going to come knocking. So no, it wasn't easy. But I'll tell you, it was worth it.
Nicole, what would you say to people that want to start right now? Tip number one, thriving, wellness. What are people going to have to get over?
So, in order to start today on your wellness journey as it relates to my area of expertise in nutrition, it's do not beat yourself up and do not empty the entire pantry of all things. However, you do want to go through your pantry and take a look to what's in there, the things that make you want to go and have that extra piece in between meals when you're not hungry and you're mindlessly eating, or at night when you're watching the movie. Things like potato chips and cheesies and candies, that sort of thing. Those things add up real quick when you are snacking. It's 50 grams of something is only this big, but you're grabbing a handful like this. So you want to remove the temptations from the house first, and then you want to start looking at the foods you do like. I don't want you to start immediately introducing foods in the past that you've put your nose to. Find those foods that you do like, and then the internet is got a massive amount of information where you can find recipes of the foods you like that are prepared a little bit differently in a more healthful way. The one gadget I think everybody needs in their kitchen as they go through this is an air fryer, because I will tell you, you can make things taste like they're deep fried or have that crispy texture to them that are juicy inside, that trick your brain into thinking it's a treat food when it indeed is absolutely incredibly healthy. And it takes the boring out of the diet.
Beautiful. Okay, Matt, for people that are scared, this is it's still a big choice, man. Mindset and completely changing the way that you look at things and going on the journey that you went on. Fear, what's your advice for everybody around that?
Well, like I said previously, our brain has evolved to take care of us. And through our experience, through our lives, we develop these mental maps. We take in input, the maps process it, it creates an action, whether it's an emotion or a movement or something like that. These maps want to keep us safe. And they were developed when we were younger. So if you feel like you're missing something in your life and you're not feeling that variety, that excitement, you're bored, you're suffering from this grayness, challenge yourself. Don't waste another day. Get out there and experience the world in a different way. You know, one of the human needs we all have is variety. And I think we all get really set in our way around consistency, another human need. So imagine we have two human needs: variety, consistency, battling it out. Don't fall back on consistency too much. Seek variety, challenge yourself, talk to people like me. I'll hang out with you for half an hour. We can explore this all you want, but every day wasted it's a tragedy because man, it's amazing what it feels like to remove the harness and set yourself free. Think of that child who rode his bike for the first time. The courage it must have taken. They fell down, but they got back up and they started to see the world in a completely different way. That's what you can achieve. That's what thriving means.
Beautiful. Matt, thank you. Beautifully put. I'm excited to talk to you about all of that more. And so, Nicole, I want to know, you talked about filling your cup. How do you fill your cup? Where do people start with that?
Uh, Actually, filling your cup is so important. So thank you for asking. And it's important to bring yourself to places that you've not been before. And that's that variety that Matt has talked about again and again. And for me, it has been I tried yoga and I fell in love. I was scared at first because it was a concept and a way to move one's body that I'd never done before. But you know what? I'm really good at it. And recently, we've been trying paddleboarding. And I have to tell you that I love this. It actually helps, the yoga that I've done helps with it. And the best part is these two activities that I engage in that Matt is starting to, I'm better at it than Matt. And that doesn't happen in just about anything. So I take great joy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Matt,
Yeah,
how do you fill your cup? Or how
I
do you
mean,
not fill your cup?
I think this is like put your money where your mouth is, Matt. You know, I could go into the gym. I love lifting weights. I love pushing myself on my bike. I'm terribly immobile after all the crazy events I've done, and you know, Nicole's really mobile, so I have and will continue to go to yoga. But honestly, you know, there's dust coming out of my joints as I'm doing some of these moves. And it's humbling, speaking of paddleboarding, because let's be honest, you know, you don't go out and do things like I do without having a huge ego. It's one of my faults. And the first time out on a paddleboard, I thought they were going to have to call the Edmonton Fire Service to rescue me out of that river. I had no idea how to get back up on the paddleboard, and it is very man card removing when I see this one floating down the river in a perfect silhouette with the paddle in her hand, just gently rowing as I'm a drowned rat. And but hey, that's the goal. You know, we're going to go back out this weekend. You get out there, you experience it, and you live life to the fullest. And that's what we want everybody to do. Like, I can't believe how much potential we all have.
Ah, you guys, thank you. That was really fun. I look forward to more of these chats with both of you, just Nicole, just Matt. To everyone out there, we really do wish you a thriving summer. And if you don't know how to get there, that is why we are here. Please reach out to Nicole. Please reach out to Matt. And cheers to summer, everybody. Thanks, guys.